So I'm here with Julian Egelstaff from Freeform Solution. Hi, Julian.
Hello.
So you're here in Confoo for 3 days.
Yes.
And
very happy to be here.
Yes, we all are. And tomorrow you're presenting a case study in integrating two CMS. Can you talk a little bit about it?
Sure. Well, one of the key things I'm interested in as a consultant who uses content management systems with clients is, well, doing what they need me to do with them. And as much as we'd like to use our favorite systems for everything, that's not always possible. And sometimes you really want to use something from another piece. And content management systems sometimes make that pretty hard. I mean, obviously at a trivial level, you cannot take a module from Impress CMS and just install it in your Drupal website. That plain doesn't work. But there are things you can do to use two systems at the same time in the same website. You run into certain issues when you do that, but you have to take them into account, and there are workarounds and various things you can do, and some things actually work out quite elegantly. So I'm going to, well, do a case study on some of that stuff tomorrow morning.
And what exactly are you integrating, and with what CMS?
Well, I'm going to focus specifically on Drupal and Impress CMS, and also on Formulize, which is a large module that works in Impress CMS that we develop at Freeform Solutions with others. It's open source.
And what does it do?
Formulize is a data management system, so it's used for, well, data input, reporting, workflows. It's not content management, it's data management. You can use it to, you know, put in content-like stuff, but there's lots of good content management things that content management systems do. When you have a specific data need, information comes in, somebody has to be notified, somebody has to then do something later on in the process. You know, if it's really data and not content you're talking about, Formulize is a really good open source solution for dealing with that.
And why do you need to use two systems to be able to accomplish what you want?
Well, in the case of Formulize, for example, because that was where a lot of our motivation for doing this came from, if you have Formulize and it's architected originally as a module in Zoops and Impress CMS, you can't install it in another system. You could port it, but it's all open source PHP code. I just want to reuse it. So that was the original example of where and how I wanted to take an existing piece of code that worked in one system and just use it on another website that may not be an Impress CMS website. I already had this code. It all works. The application works. It has all the features that I want, and I don't feel I should have to rewrite that. If I can run it on the web as in response to a page request, then why don't I just run it on a different address on the web in response to a different page request? Surely that should be possible. That's the way open web architectures are supposed to work. Content management systems, unfortunately, do throw up some barriers to this because of their assumptions about being the only thing that is answering the page requests. So it's ways of getting around those barriers that I'm looking at tomorrow.
And do you feel most CMS are doing that, are putting barriers?
Yeah, most CMS make certain assumptions, and it's been really interesting for me at the conference the last couple of days, seeing what some straight PHP developers have to say on related issues. There was a great talk yesterday by Paul Jones about, well, basically about what you can do to make your code more portable. And there's been a few different talks at a really high level about dependency injection, which is a technique for making your code really not dependent on anything else that might be, that it might be relying on. Not making the code itself not dependent at the code layer. When you run it, it obviously needs to talk to a database, needs to talk to all these different things, but to make the code itself portable, there's a lot of really abstract things people are doing PHP developers, core developers are doing. And I find that really interesting because these are people who tend not to use content management systems because they're very hung up on just being close to the code. As consultants or people who are trying to solve needs that clients have immediately for, in our case, very low cost, because we work with not-for-profit organizations. They don't have a development budget, so we can't spend lots and lots of time and money doing coding.
Recreating something that already exists.
We just want to take a content management solution that we know works and use it. And sometimes we want to take one plus Formulize or plus something else, and we want to just use them. They both work. Let's just make them work together.
Now you're using Drupal. Why have you been using Drupal?
Well, to some extent, it's partly to do with the market that we serve and the not-for-profit space, especially in Toronto. There's just a very large community of developers and advocacy organizations and social sector organizations that
use that
these
already.
Things it's just a networking thing. For whatever reason, in different organizations and in different parts of the country, different things become popular and not so popular. And I'm sure Montreal has its own little ecosystem of different systems with Impress and Marc Laporte with TikiWiki here. I know he has some large clients in Montreal, and I'm sure the uptake in Toronto is different for that kind of thing. Drupal also, just from a pure practical business perspective in Toronto, it's a little easier for us to find some Drupal people when we put out ads for things. It just seems that everybody, that's what they know. So again, it comes down to trying to solve people's needs in as straightforward a way as we can, and that's sort of a path of least resistance for us at the moment.
If we're thinking about the three major players in CMS, we have Drupal, Joomla, and WordPress. Do you have any... is there any potential for you to integrate Formulize with either WordPress or Joomla? Yeah,
absolutely, because the work that we've done, well, to back it up a bit, what's really interesting to me about the Formulize integration with these systems, because there's things you can do to integrate Impress and Drupal, but it sort of reaches a new level when you look at integrating Formulize, because, and this all goes back to some really early architectural decisions that we made, because as you know, in Impress and most systems, you can, say, create blocks. And you can sometimes have PHP blocks, for example, in these systems. And Drupal's the same, and most systems do this kind of stuff. And a long time ago, for reasons that I don't even remember clearly now, we wanted to be able to publish inside an existing website that had Formulize installed as a module. So this is not system integration. This is just in an existing website. We wanted to have Formulize content available in that site, but in a block. Not straight, plain old Formulize page. Let's just pull out some content and have it somewhere else. So we started to write Formulize in such a way that it didn't care where it was run. You could run Formulize in a block. It could be the main body of the page. It could be anywhere. Yep. And that's kind of what Paul Jones was talking about yesterday. You start writing your code that way, it just automatically becomes very portable. So we can plug it into Drupal, but we can also plug it into any, it works architecturally speaking just at the PHP layer. So as long as you have access to the PHP code layer, then in any CMS, and not just Drupal, you could plug Formulize in.
Awesome. So your talk tomorrow is at 9:45?
Yes.
So we'll see you there. Thank you for this today.
Fantastique. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.